Hey YouTube, this is City Prepping. Hoping you're having a great Friday and looking forward to the weekend. I sure am. It's been a long week. Working on a lot of projects over the last several weeks and several months for that matter. And in this video, I want to kind of walk you through the projects that I've been doing, where I'm going to be going with the channel over the next few months, and some of the projects that I have coming up, and would love to get your feedback. I'm going to walk you through this area that I'm working on at the moment. My goal with this particular area is to build kind of a self-sufficiency area. Long-term, my project is to show how to do what I'm doing up here in your own backyard. If you live in a kind of a suburban environment, you've got the typical, whatever, 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, how you can actually begin to build out a lot of what I'm going to be showing here over the next couple of months. As you can see right behind me, I'm building the container gardens. And like I said, I'm going to flip the camera around here in just a second. I'm going to walk you through kind of explaining everything, what I'm doing. As you can see, the water tanks behind me, that was a project that I did a video on a couple of months ago, or rather, was it a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, feels like a couple of months. It's a couple of weeks ago. And I'll show you just how this is all tying together as I'm slowly building everything out. By the way, if you haven't already followed me on Instagram, you can check me out there at instagram.com/cityprepping. I tend to post a lot of daily updates there, specifically showing what I'm doing. So if you want to follow along, you can check me out there. And last kind of plug, if you're interested in picking up one of the Kodiaks, or as they're now called, the Apex, they're doing their pre-sale. It's going to end on May 1st. They have a deep discount at the moment, and if you use city code or coupon code City Prepping in conjunction with that, the price is pretty low. And again, they're going to be running that for about one more week. I'll put a link in the description section below if you want to check that out and pick one up before that deadline. So let me flip the camera around. I'll walk you through the setup, what I'm doing, and kind of give you a heads up on what I'm going to be doing over the next several months. And at any time, if you see anything and you're like, hey, here's some feedback on how to improve what you're doing, please post that in the comments section. I learned so much from you guys. And I would also be curious to hear, post in the comments section below what you're up to, what you're preparing this week, what you're working on, what skills you're developing. I always love hearing back from the community. So let's flip the camera around, and I'll kind of walk you through what I've got going on. Okay, so let me pan back here just a little and kind of show you what's happening. I'll probably put some drone footage so you can see the top of the hill here. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm working on building, or I already have built 3 container gardens. I'm going to be putting in a couple more down here. I've got some soil left over from the project. And this area over here, I'm going to be putting in eventually a chicken coop, hopefully a greenhouse. I'll be putting solar on top of the chicken coop. I'm going to be putting in a lot more container gardens. So that's kind of where I'm going to be going with this area over the next few months. There's a lot to do. I thought by this point I'd already have it all done, but I'm quickly learning it's a lot of work just to get to this point. So here's the container gardens. I bought these strawberries from the store. They were already, they were plants basically when I bought them. So they were little starter packs. I've already begun to harvest strawberries off them. It's amazing just the difference between this and buying them at the store, where they typically take them out of the ground early and let them ripen at the store. It's a radically different taste. Obviously, you're getting a lot more nutrition by doing it yourself. Even if you're not into prepping, this is a skill that I'm developing that I've wanted to for years, and I'm glad I'm finally getting around to it. I've got, let's see, I believe these are beans that are coming in here. They start sprouting really well over the last few days. And I've got peppers. I think I'm slowly getting a sprout somewhere in here. I put these green lines here to, when I was planning everything, to kind of show me where to line everything up. I'm going to be taking these soon out. Now, as you can see here, over the last few days, I put in irrigation lines. Again, if you watch my video on installing the water tank, I don't have soil up here at the top of the hill. I really have dirt, I've got rocks that are tied together with a little dirt. So building this irrigation system, or the trenches for the irrigation system, wow, that was a lot of work. Every time I get up here and have to dig into the ground, it's some back-breaking work. Here I've got a couple of rows of corn on this side, and they're coming in very nicely. I just thinned them out yesterday. I put 2 seeds in, and those are coming in really nicely. I forget what I've got growing on this other side of the bed. I have to go back and look. I mapped it all out. I wrote it down. It might be tomatoes. I think it's tomatoes. Yeah, actually it is. It's tomatoes. I think I have about 5 or 6 plants in there. Those haven't sprouted out yet, but hopefully they'll be coming in soon. Let me show you over here what I've got going on. As you can see, these are onions. When I bought them, they were just little bulbs, and I planted them. So I didn't exactly start from seeds with those. On this side down here, I planted lettuce, but after I planted them, I was like, wait a minute, I think those are for the winter time. But when I was at the store, they're like, no, you can plant them. So hopefully I'll get something out of that. I put in some parsley, and gosh, I forget what else. It's some kind of not a mint, but just some herbs that I've got on these 2 rows right here. These two rows over here are onions, and then this row is, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on what it is. Oh yeah, I just said it, lettuce, duh. So that area, or this bed, is gonna have a lot. Now, if you look at this bed, you're like, wow, that's a big bed. And in my haste to set this up, I wasn't paying attention. And I accidentally made it too big. It's a 6-foot wide bed. They shouldn't be more than 4. So what I'm gonna do is, after I harvest in the summer, I'll probably just go ahead and cut a big U in the middle of this, and have a little walkway in here, and I'll keep the beds on the outside U. And I'll do that over here as well. These are 12-inch tall boards, so this bed's, with soil, it's probably about 20 inches deep. If I were to fill it all the way up, it'd be 24. And this one's a 12-inch deep bed, and same thing, it's too wide. The one on the end was perfect. It's 4 feet long. And what I'm gonna do over here is I'll put container gardens that are 4 foot, square. I'll put probably 2 down here. I'll eventually have to put fences around this area, because as I'm beginning to produce, the rodents are gonna show up. Let me walk you through kind of the solar setup over here in the tank. I'll explain that for you real quick. So here I have the water storage. This is my 2,500 gallon tank, and I'll put a link to the video showing that foundation setup that I did, and explain this a little more. I've got 3 100-watt panels set up, and I'll explain that setup in just a second. I've got a lot of leftover wood because I bought too much wood when I picked up the cedar. I'm not going to even begin to share the price of how much I spent on the cedar. It was ridiculous. But these boards should last for quite a long time. I'm going to cover them up pretty soon with tarps. And as you can see, I've obviously still got work to do on finishing up the irrigation lines. The funny thing, and a mistake I made, is I put in the seeds first, and I should have really put in the irrigation lines first, because now I can't really find some of the seeds. They haven't grown out yet. And so I'm a little hesitant to put in the irrigation until those sprout, because I don't want to put them on top of them and potentially destroy them. If I'd have done this all over again, I would have put the irrigation lines first, then put in the seeds. But hey, lesson learned. The trench is there. It's pretty much ready. A lot of the seeds that haven't sprouted yet, they hopefully should sprout in the next week or so. So it's not a big issue. I've got tons of other projects to work on, so I'll be staying busy. So what the setup basically is that I have is, again, I've got this 2,500 gallon water tank here, and I pump up water from the bottom of the hill. I really don't have to fill it up very often because I'm not using a ton of water at this time. So as you can see, I've got the 3 solar panels. I've got, and I'll show you this, see if this can show. Yeah, I've got a 1/2 horsepower water pump, and quite honestly, it's probably a little more than I need. Whenever I turn this on, it definitely pressurizes the line pretty well, but I'd rather go bigger than smaller, and yeah, I can definitely add more lines on to the water irrigation system with a pump that size. So I'll show you here the other box, and again, in the future, I'll build a more permanent structure. This is just kind of what I had at the moment. I had these containers out in the garage, and so in this box, I've got the Kodiak. This is the 1,500 watt solar generator. I've done tons of video reviews on it, and of course I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but it powers that 1/2 gallon pump without issues. It's a pretty powerful little system. So if you haven't seen the videos on that particular unit, I'll post links in the description section below. You can actually hook up 600 watts in total solar panels to that Kodiak. Again, I barely run the unit up here, so 300 watts is more than enough. But what will happen is, once I get the chicken coop built, which I'll eventually stick probably right here, I'll put some container gardens here, I'll put the chicken coop with the run, and I'll either maybe put a greenhouse here and then put the chicken coop at the end over there, so I can basically put the greenhouse there and then chicken coop off over there. And I might kind of back it up against here so I have a lot more space for more container gardens. Eventually I'll have to fence all of this area in, and it's unfortunately a project I'll have to do soon that I'm not really looking forward to. So that's what I'm going to be doing over here. Now, as you can see, the sun sets in the west, so it arches over these beds during the day, so they get full sunlight. I might be doing some companion planting for plants that don't want full sunlight, but as you can see up here in this area, I've got nothing but sunlight, and so it's a great setup for what I'm doing. I get nothing but wind up here, super windy, so I'll be doing some wind turbine videos here eventually in conjunction with the solar. Now, as far as the bees go, and by the way, I've got some additional soil left over here. This is some of the soil amendment that I put at the top of my gardens, and I've got a lot left over. Turns out when you buy it by the pallet load, you can get it at about half the price, so I decided to buy it as a pallet instead of just individual bags. It was significantly cheaper. I'm going to walk you through this area over here, and I'll show you where I'm going to set up the bees. They come on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. They ship on Monday. So I've refurbished and sterilized a beehive that a neighbor gave to me. I'm going to be doing a video on that over the next few days because I've already filmed it all, but I just have to edit it. But I'll be putting that up over here. So let me walk you through that area, or rather to that area real quick, and show you where I'm going to set that up. Okay, so we're going to walk away from the water tank. And as you can see, this area over here is still, got a lot of shrubs, or got a lot of overgrowth that I haven't cleaned back. I'll probably eventually cut all this back and put in garden beds over here as well. The only issue, and by the way, you can see there's a lot of shade in this area, so that will be good for plants that maybe don't necessarily want full sunlight. As you can see, I've already got some cinder blocks over there. I'm going to have to level this out over the next probably day or so to get ready for the bees. I just kind of cleared this path to get it set up for the bees. And again, I've got the hive, I've got the frames, so everything's ready. You just need the bees at this point. And again, they will be coming shortly. So here's where I'm going to set the beehives. You typically want to face the entrance, from what I've read, to the southeast. So the southeast is about that direction. As you can, behind me is west, so this would be south, this would be east, so this is southeast, and then the north over here to my left. But I'll put in the first hive there. Hopefully in time we'll add on maybe 3 or 4 more hives. I'd love to put in a lot of hives, but I'll level that off and stick the hives there, the beehive rather. So that in a nutshell is my setup, and I'll pan over here. Oops. Learning how to use this gimbal still. So in a nutshell, this is a setup, and you're seeing the undeveloped version of this hill up here. In time, over the next few months, next few years, this area is going to be significantly developed out. So if you're at the beginning of this, watching these videos, you're getting to see it before I really put anything in. Again, as always, I'd love to get your feedback. If you see anything that you would recommend, post that in the comments section below. I've been learning a lot from what subscribers have been telling me, especially when it comes to gardening, because I am a 100% complete rookie. And as a friend of mine once told me, all you need is 3 things for gardens, or rather to just need 3 things to raise plants: is sun, soil, and water. So trying to get the best soil I can in there. I ended up buying a lot of topsoil from a local nursery, and then I added that soil amendment that I just showed you behind the tank. So hoping this will, and it's an organic soil amendment. I was about to put in Miracle Grow, but everybody on Instagram shot me down and said, no, don't do that. We'll see how this works. But based on what I'm seeing so far, things are looking good. So that's it. That's the walkthrough of the top of the hill. Again, I'll be developing this out a lot over the next few months. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the channel. The money that I get from the channel, I'm just taking it and reinvesting it up here so you can see and follow along in this journey with me toward self-sufficiency. As always, if you enjoy this video, click on the like button, share on social media, and as always, be safe out there.